This is Tony Diaz, el Librotraficante. Welcome to Nuestra Palabra, Latinos having their say. I get the treat to talk to my dear friend and an amazing writer, Natalia Treviño, as we celebrate her novel and collection of poetry. The novel is called The Road Back. Estás en casa, Natalia. Qué gusto saludarte. Un abrazo grande.
Ay, gracias, gracias, Tony. Qué gusto estar aquí. Thank you to everyone at Nuestra Palabra. Thank you for organizing this and talking to me about this book and for reading it. I mean, wow, it's in your hands, and you've watched me develop this since early days at Macondo.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I want to share that with folks, and I'm going to try not to make it too much of an insider conversation because I've known you for years.
Yeah.
I've gotten to see the evolution of this book, but I do want to celebrate it. I want folks in Houston to stop by. They get a chance to meet you. You're delightful. They can hang out with you on Wednesday, May 27th. It's going to be at 7 p.m. It's free at 6300 Irvington, where there's plenty of parking. It's the Harris County Department of Education. It's the first floor. Y sabes que, Natalia, we're going to talk about the Macondo influence, the influence of Sandra Cisneros. So it's not just a beautiful random prize that we're offering to folks. When they RSVP, they can RSVP at the QR code right there on the flyer on screen, or they can go to nuestrapalabra.org and click through to our events page and go right to the RSVP to RSVP on Luma. But once they RSVP, they're entered into a drawing for a copy of House on Mango Street signed by Sandra Cisneros. More details in the link and a little later in the show. But we are going to get to you reading some of the book for us. But that's not random. Can you tell us, folks, a little bit about you mentioned Macondo. Tell them what Macondo is and tell them why we're giddy about it and why it's united us. And
why does the word Macondo put a smile on our face? Why does it fill us with a sense of home and welcome? Well, it's because of Sandra and what she cultivated there, isn't it? I mean, she brought together writers and who were working for social justice, who were working for nonviolent solutions to the world's problems and through writing, and helped make a seat at the table for us. And most importantly, taught us to be generous with one another and to see the whole writer. And when you welcome the whole writer to any organization, I think, like Macondo, and they feel seen, it just changes their lives, because a lot of us don't come through life thinking that we have the right to write a book. We don't see ourselves in books. And Macondo has given us so many people from many different backgrounds and cultures the chance to feel seen as a writer. That's me. Thought my phone was on silent.
It's the muses calling, saying, hey, we want to be involved as well. That's beautiful. And it touches on so many aspects of what Nuestra Palabra is about, what Macondo is about, how Sandra's work has shaped all of us. And it's wonderful that all those spirits led you to being so committed to the community, to education, to educating others, but to sharing this book. Tell folks how long it took you to write this powerful novel, which I really enjoyed writing.
This novel, well, it's been easily more than a decade, maybe more than a decade and a half. This started off as a short story or a second short story in a collection of short stories in response to a tragedy that I heard about on the news in 2003. The short story, the first one, wasn't really ready for anyone's eyes until maybe 2005. Which is when I first joined Macondo. And it had to do with one of the deadliest human smuggling cases that happened outside of Houston, actually, in Victoria, where 19 immigrants were found deceased in an abandoned trailer. And I couldn't get no one can get their head around that, of course, but my body was just shaking when I heard that story. And being an immigrant, who's been hearing about tragedies with immigration for my entire life, really. And crossing the border back and forth, soy de Mexico, knowing how tricky the border is, how tricky it is to live on both sides of the border and be in both cultures at the same time. That story just wiped my brain out. And I had to write about it in order to understand it. And so I wrote the first short story about that event. And then this story is about a character related to that first short story. And this story just took off and became bigger and bigger and bigger, and has taken me far too long to write, but I've rewritten it many times. As a poet, it's hard to translate the poetry into a more into a narrative, and because we poets, we like to go deep dive, and narratives need to keep the momentum going, so that's been a challenge. So the title is no joke. The road has been rough for me as a writer on this one too, but I'm so grateful it's finally out.
And I want to remind folks that they get a chance to meet you in person. They get a chance to purchase their copy, get it signed. They can add it to their family library or add it to an underground library as well. And you'll be launching two books. We're going to hear an excerpt from the novel and then also a collection of poetry, because you're very, very adept at both. And we'll let folks know how they can also win a copy, a signed copy of The House on Mango Street, signed by Sandra Cisneros. But I would love it if right now you would read a portion of your novel, The Road Back, which Houston folks will get to hear more of on Wednesday, May 27th.
I would love to do that. I will hop right in to the opening of the book. One of the things I wanted to center was silence. Silence has a huge role in our life, in our cultura, and I really believe in the idea of cada cabeza es un mundo, and I really wanted to explore the world inside of Berta, my main character, who is a teenage mother who is undocumented here in San Antonio, Texas, and has left her daughter in Mexico. So this is my imagining of her mundo inside. This chapter is called Cristal. I close my eyes a little and ignore the sound of the water gushing from the faucet. The lights and the water move through the cristal, smooth as the wet scales on a live fish. The wet glass that could easily fall and break in my hand is more expensive than anything I will ever own. That's what La Señora told me, and that they traveled in a thick special cardboard box across the ocean to stand still here in her dining room cabinet, to remain unused and for show only, and to be organized in rows by size, tall ones, fat ones, by color, by clarity, some round like a bowl that balances on top of a thin bird leg. Another is round with no stem, but fat at the bottom like a clear chicken egg, with its top lopped off. All of them cristal, La Señora says, from Germany, where they make wonderful clocks, the best guns, and the most delicate glassware. Their rims, thin as a baby's first tooth. Now they are here in my trembling hands as I wash each one. Each of the pieces of cristal waits her turn with me like a girl would wait for her turn to dance at a quinceañera, her sparkling eyeshadow catching the light. Not that I have ever been to a quinceañera, but I have been close enough.
And I want to let folks know that that intensity of writing remains throughout the entire work. And I know that's hard to sustain, but maybe it's the 10 years or the love of craft. And I'm glad you read that section, because I really love that section as well. How long did it take you to write that part?
That part came late. in draft 3. I was working with an editor who the book originally started with her, the scene, starting in the middle, right? The scene was her leaving Mexico and saying goodbye to her daughter and starting. So from the minute you open the book, okay, there's a child here and she's saying goodbye. But my editor said, why don't you start after she's been here for a year and put her in her daily life? And what is she doing? And I could just see her, struggling with these very delicate things that her terrifying and oppressive senora has her washing, because La Senora is really focused on the pretense of her life and everything shining. They have a visitor coming that day. And she's made our protagonist very nervous with her bombastic personality and her demands. So to develop that part, it wasn't, once I saw the scene in my head, it didn't take that long to write. And then the book moved forward from a different place, and I started inserting some of her memories in key places so that we still have her story from the past, which is very important to understanding her present. And that was my braiding that became a multi-decade project, is putting these scenes next to each other so that they made sense in the narrative. But to me, they made sense because when I am in the present, a memory will interrupt and help me see the present moment more clearly. It'll sort of resonate more, or it's like looking at something in relief. So this moment is being influenced by the past. So I was wanting those moments to be near each other, so we could see the impact of the past on the present in time.
I love that you're talking about the craft too. We know that we should give a shout out to Arte Público Press because that's the publisher. Who was your editor?
Well, I worked with an agent editor, Melissa Danasco, for a big rewrite of this book. And she was amazing, but I also had wonderful editorial comments from Nick Canelos, from Gabby Baeza, and also from Maria Maloney, who was one of their first editors on the book. So beautiful family of people that thankfully see the light in Berta's mind and heart and wanted to dedicate time to her. And I love her so much. So I'm so grateful that others did too, to give her time and space.
And you're also giving a hint, especially to other writers, of the amount of time and energy you took crafting the arc of the book, which could be a whole other discussion as well.
Many discussions, yes.
Right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to stop this part there so that folks will come on Wednesday, May 27th to hear more about the book from behind the scenes, hear more of the work, buy their copy. Of course, Nuestra Palabra is also a bookstore, so proceeds benefit Nuestra Palabra. I also want to thank you, before we talk about the collection of poetry, I want to thank you because you were one of the first folks to become a member of Nuestra Palabra. And I say all that because you didn't have to do that. And of course, it's not quid pro quo. Like if you become a member, we'll support it. But we really appreciate it. And I'm putting up our the graphic on the screen so people can see the QR code if they want to become a member as well. And I want them to know that as a 2026 Nuestra Palabra member, there's many perks, including special VIP events. So we're going to have a little mingle with folks with you beforehand. So that's part of it. It's a 10% off of book purchases. You'll find out what's going on ahead of time. We're also going to do a Nuestra Palabra yearbook, so to speak, and they get the first on that. Wow. But also they get to pitch in so that we can continue to organize readings like this. We're going to curate a show around your book with other poets and writers to bring out other parts of the book so that people are learning as they're enjoying the show. But we also want the next generation of young writers to hear your work, to meet you, get inspired.
Mhm.
And even if they don't ask you direct questions about craft, we know that they're hearing work that you have really um, taken a lot of time to shape, and they need to hear that sort of work as well. I'm going to ask you a very self-serving question. You
That's so
didn't have to become a member, but thank you for becoming a Nuestra Palabra 2026 member. Why did you do that?
well. You said I didn't have to do it, but I did have to do it when I heard about it because I want to support Nuestra Palabra. Nuestra Palabra is a historic movement. It already has a long history because of your long dedication to it, but it's grown. It's a cultural movement. It's extraordinarily important for Latino voices to have Nuestra Palabra supporting and amplifying and helping us feel seen. And so to be a part of it and to be invited to be a part of it in some small way just made me very happy. And I spent some time thinking about and looking at the word palabra in your name, in Nuestra Palabra. And I love looking at word history. And so I found out a little bit about palabra, where it came from. And wanted to know, and I found out something really beautiful. Palabra, it comes from two Greek roots, and pala is para. Para comes from para, which is alongside or beside, and the bole, it comes from bole was the second half of the word, the Greek word, and that means to throw. And the word literally means to throw alongside in Greek, but it
Mm,
became the word parable in Latin. Parable related to language, related to story, but most importantly, related to comparison. So originally it meant comparison, and which is what a parable is, right? It's a story that compares. And then eventually, this idea of us using language and story to compare reality to what we want, right? And our inner life to our external life, it just eventually became, in Latin, it became Old Spanish for the word. So the word is really comes from the word story, comparison. And that is what poetry is. And that is what brings us together, is telling our stories. So thank you to Nuestra Palabra for creating stories and allowing us to see ourselves reflected in the community and to make our dreams come true.
Thank you so much. And what a wonderful way to put it, which just reflects your corazon, your education, and your poetic sensibility, which I see in the novel. I mean, even myself as a writer, I like to think that I'm a poet that writes novels and books. But
You
that's
are.
but that's a great segue to your new collection as well from Flower Song Press. So this is you're unleashing so many muses. We're so happy that we'll be sharing the collection as well. We've got some poets that will share that work that evening as well. Also want to thank you because all the proceeds from the sales of that book will go to Nuestra Palabra to support us even more, as if you haven't done enough. But I'd love it if you would share some poems from that give a preview of what folks can expect in Three Dimensions on May 27th.
I would love to do that. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, so this entire book is dedicated to the Virgin Mary and Guadalupe specifically, but not just Guadalupe, but all of the goddesses and all of the virgins that she has become in different cultures. So I originally wanted to write about every single one of them. I didn't know a thing. Um, and I found out that's going to be impossible because there are over 22,000 virgins documented around the world. So I stayed with the virgins here in the Americas, and I found out so much about Tonantzin, who Our Lady of Guadalupe sort of supplanted and or is, and found out so much about the feminine divine and love and creation through by investigating her. And so I'll share one poem from this book, Uh, the artwork is by Celeste de Luna, amazing, mythic and layered, and her artwork is also on my novel as well. This poem is from a section of the book called Witness, and which has a very religious concept, right? The idea of being a witness. And I did a lot of witnessing of the Virgen by looking at the artwork of her and responding to paintings about her or images of her. So one of the great painters who is very famous for painting her many, many times and very important to Western culture is Botticelli, Venus on the half shell, that guy from Italy. And he had there's a woman that appears over and over in his paintings, and I didn't know it wasn't just that he liked a style of a woman. It was a woman that he was in love with. So this is a story about that. Witness. That we make her a compiled human is understandable. Botticelli had Simonetta Vespucci, his Venus, for Birth of Venus, every sacred blonde on display like a pinup girl on the walls of the Sistine Chapel, in the trials of Moses, in the temptations of Jesus. Simonetta Vespucci is Flora and Chloris in Primavera. She's the definitive Madonna Magnificat. How else to imagine divinity than with the faces we love? It's what we do. Bear the ephemeral and worship what is left.
Beautiful. Really, what I love about your work is that it's got a lot of soul from our community. It stands up on the page, it stands up in person, and also it stands up in for history. So really, really excited to have you here in Houston. I want to remind folks, Nuestra Palabra is so proud to welcome Natalia Treviño. It's Wednesday, May 27th, 7 p.m. It's free at 6300 Irvington. It's on the first floor, plenty of free parking, admissions free. You basically get off at 610 in Irvington and you are there. You can also win a copy of The House on Mango Street signed by Sandra Cisneros if you RSVP. Here's where I do explain all the rules. So you need the RSVP on Luma. There's a QR code here at on the graphic, and you'll check in right there. Muscle man. You'll check in when you get to the reading, and we'll ask you to stay at the end of the evening. We will have a drawing. Winner must be present. We'll have some other books and treats as well, but at that time, we'll also raffle that off. We should also note that folks who become members in May will also be entered into a separate drawing to also win a signed copy of The House on Mango Street signed by Sandra Cisneros. And of course, this is really a prelude to our book festival. Oh, I should tell you, yeah, we're doing a book festival, Houston Text Fest. It's going to be Saturday, October 17th. If people go to the QR code, they can see that. They can see that as well and get involved. But more than anything, yes, thank you. More than anything, want to build community with you. Can't wait to see you. When's the last time you read in Houston?
I came to Houston a few months ago for the Knox conference.
Oh, that's right.
The Texas conference, and it was beautiful. The panels, the conversations, the new books that were awarded, the community. Arte Público showed up. I had a beautiful panel with Lupe Mendez, Irene Lara Silva, and Gabi Baeza talking about our new books. For Lupe and Irene and I to have our books all come out on the same day by the same press, which for me, and I believe they said this too, Arte Público is is the Dream Press, because it's the press that let me first hear my entire voice was possible on the page. But when I read Chance by Pat Mora when I was an undergrad, so I never knew I could hear my whole mind and see it in a poem. It just changed my life forever. So Arte Publico did that. And I'm just, it's always been a dream of mine to be with them. So yay. That was the last time I went to Houston. And then before that, I don't know. It wasn't that long ago.
So this is the year. Houston, take advantage of it. Un abrazo grande. We can't wait to see you. And Houston, do not miss out. Un abrazo.
Thank you. Un abrazote.
Bye.
Bye.